All in, the prep for this took me about 10 minutes total, so this is a great, cheap and easy zero waste way to have fresh, crisp spinach and kale around to throw into recipes and make sure that you eat your greens. Welcome back to Plants Not Plastic. I'm Nikita and I bring you recipes that are delicious, inexpensive, simple, and healthy. Today I am bringing you a zero waste kitchen tip for how to wash, cut, and store spinach and kale. I'm showing you these two as an example of leafy greens because they're what I use most commonly in my recipes. In general, it seems like people go for the convenience of a pre-washed, packaged option, but there's some debate about whether or not you should be re-washing your vegetables when you bring them home, which kind of defeats the purpose and eliminates that convenience. It also comes in plastic, which is a consideration if you're trying to reduce your waste. It's more expensive than if you buy a bunched leafy green, and it actually won't last you as long if you do the prep properly on your bunched option, because going through that pre-washing actually takes a little bit longer than it would if you're just cutting off the leaves, putting them into a bunch, and sending them to the store. So you need your kale. So before even taking it out of the bunch, I always cut off the very bottom. This is just because it can be a little bit dry if it's been sitting at the store or in your fridge before you prepped it. Then you can go ahead and take it out of the bunch. And instead of having a whole plastic bag or container, this is the only waste that you'll be left with. This is dino kale, which I prefer because it's a little bit sweeter and holds its texture better in things like soups and stews, which is what I use my kale for. And for dino kale, because it has these little folds, what I do first is I go through and I check to make sure that there are no bugs or like clumps of dirt. If I find anything, then I'll give it a quick rinse in that area to make sure that I get rid of it before I wash the whole bunch. Okay, looks good. The prep that I'm going to show you for kale is actually to freeze it, and that's because, like I said, I use my kale in cooked recipes. If you want to keep it fresh, I haven't tried this before, but I've heard that the best zero waste way to do that is to rinse your whole leaves. Don't cut them beforehand, and then you let them counter dry and roll them up individually in a towel. And that should keep them dry and fresh for, I think, like close to a week. But I've never actually tried it before, so I can't say for sure that it'll work. After you've checked the leaves, you're just gonna put them back into a bunch and chop them. How big you chop them is really gonna be up to you. I like to make them smaller just because they'll cook down faster once I put them into a recipe. If you have a bunch that's too large, you can separate them. You don't have to cut them all at once. You'll need a salad spinner. If you don't have one, just get one. They're really cheap and super useful if you're doing stuff like this in your kitchen regularly. You can do it without one by just using a colander and then air drying, but it'll take forever. It's not gonna get them as dry unless you wait a really, really long time for them to completely dry out, and it's just worth it. So you'll just put them into the basket, and then you'll just fill it with water until it's covering the kale. And then you'll swish it around just to clean it a little bit. You'll spend like 30-40 seconds doing this just to make sure that you're giving it a good rinse. Then you'll put the lid back on and drain it. Then what you want to do is you'll spin it twice. So what you'll do is you'll spin it, drain it, take the lid off and toss the kale, and then spin it and drain it again. What you're trying to do is just get as much water out as possible so that when you do freeze it, it doesn't end up getting freezer burn, and it'll be great for recipes during the week. It'll still have some water on it at this point, which is fine. You just want to get it as dry as possible, but it does not need to be completely dry before you store it. All that's left is for you to store it. I put it in a container like this because it stacks easily in the freezer. Just as an example, this is the last little bit of kale that we had from last week. In my opinion, I think it's actually like better than if you buy the pre-bagged store-bought stuff. You can see it's really nice little pieces. Next we'll do the spinach. Again, you can start by cutting off just like a 1/2 inch on the ends before taking it out of the bunch. Then I'll go ahead and take it out of the bunch. So then what you want to do is you'll just look through your leaves, make sure that you get rid of any that are like yellow, have any that are like eaten by bugs or have gotten slimy. I found one to get rid of. And then take the ones that are nice and green and fresh and put them straight into your salad spinner. Same as with the kale, you're just gonna fill it with water, hand rinse it for 30 to 40 seconds, drain the water, spin it, drain it, toss it, and then spin it and drain it again. I don't pre-cut my spinach. Since I store it fresh, I'll just cut it when I'm gonna use it. After I've dried it, I'll take it and put it into a large container and store it in the fridge. All in, the prep for this took me about 10 minutes total, so this is a great, cheap and easy zero waste way to have fresh, crisp spinach and kale around to throw into recipes and make sure that you eat your greens. So that's it for today. If you like this video, please do subscribe. Click the bell to get notifications when I put out new content. You can also subscribe to my website at PlantsNotPlastic.com, as well as follow me on social media. All that information is detailed below in the description. Thanks for watching, and see you next time. Bye.